The sheriffs take an oath to the Constitution. And again, they're the only they're actually part of the executive branch because they execute laws. They're supposed to execute and make sure that laws are pursuant to the Constitution, which is part of what the federal government, sometimes they refer to, there's a supremacy clause to the Constitution. Well, the supremacy clause simply means that every law is meant to be pursuant to the Constitution. That means if it's not pursuant to it, if it doesn't fit within the limitations of the government, that law is actually null and void. Which, by the way, I want to remind everyone, the states created the federal government. So the states are actually superior to the federal government, and that's what this Supreme Court case for state sovereignty was all about. It was a reinvigoration that our states are superior to the federal government. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not what I'd call a constitutional scholar, but I am like what every man, woman, and child and children in school should be doing, that study the Constitution. Because as you become a student of it, if this is a government by and for the people, then we, the people, better get up to date on what it says to limit government. And then we get to challenge them wherever they come up with their color of law mandates, where you have to do this and you have to do that. Even in an emergency, the Constitution is not void. So when people are not talking about their innate rights, see, the moment an executive, the governor or the president of the United States says something, people have been trained for the past 30, 40, 50 years that what they say is gospel. And what we need to be saying, no, is it pursuant to the Constitution? Because if it's not, we could say, well, I don't have to obey that. That's null and void.
Okay, so government doesn't give us our rights. It shouldn't be there to tell us what we can and can't do.
No.
Our rights are given, so they were enumerated in our Bill of Rights. These ones that they decided were specific, that absolutely we've got to be specific about the right to free speech, our right to assemble, our right to freedom of the press, those types of things are
and they were all attacked in the past year, haven't they?
All of them.
Every single, the freedom of religion, the freedom to worship as you want. Every single one of those through the lockdowns and through the mask mandates were all designed to go after each of those First Amendment rights.
Okay. I love what you said the other night when you were speaking, when you said, we must not wear masks and do it consciously and on purpose. When we go into a business and they won't serve you, make sure you get to the manager and be like, okay, then I will not do my business here because this is unconstitutional.
The sheriff is considered part of the executive branch of government. And so they are created to be direct representatives of we the people, to enforce laws that are pursuant to the Constitution. They specifically take their oath directly to the Constitution, and they're appointed by, they're voted in by the people, and they're not appointed by a mayor. Now the mayors can have a police force of a city, but they're not appointed by the people. And this is how the federal government becomes a Trojan horse. And there's a concept in law that says where there's a benefit, there's jurisdiction. So they wanted to give money, and they're always giving jurisdictions money. And you hear it all the time. Well, look, if we don't do this, we're going to lose our federal grants, or we're going to lose our federal monies. Well, of course, this is the way the federal government reaches into our personal lives and says, you do what we say, or else. We become subjects all over again. And we have to stop that.
Okay, so when you say go see your sheriff, go talk to your sheriff, what would people walk in and say?
Now, I went and saw my sheriff prior to the November 3rd election in my county. And I went with 3 other gentlemen. So the 4 of us went. We didn't know what to expect. We called and made an appointment so that our sheriff knew when we were coming. But we did say we have concerns about all that's going on. And that gives you a broad palette to work with. Okay? There's a lot of things that's going on that we as citizens of this great county have concerns about. So go and talk to them. Don't be afraid of them. Well, they're not going to arrest you on the spot for being a concerned citizen.
They're just a person.
You're just a person. You don't have to go with any hostility, and you don't have to go with any disrespect. In fact, use the word respectfully, sir, respectfully, officer, respectfully, sheriff. I have great concerns. We want to live in a free America, and we have great concerns about this because we see things happening. We see censorship, we see lockdowns, we see encroachments upon our freedom of worship, our right to assemble, censorship on media platforms. What do you say to that? We came right out and asked our sheriff, if someone comes in here from a federal agency or from one of the cities that is employed, that were the law enforcement's not voted in by we the people, and they want to take our right of self-defense away from us, what are you going to do? And of course, it's a big question because our sheriff says, well, I don't think it'll come to that. I said, I didn't ask you that question. We asked you, would you let it happen? He said, no, I won't let it happen. And he said, I don't think the people will let it happen. Well, he's right about that. Because if we lose our right of self-defense, if we lose the right of control over our physical bodies, what's left? Well, I said, officers, really glad to see y'all today. Thank y'all for coming out. I hope y'all have some important things to do, but I'm going to my car now. They couldn't do anything to me other than watch me leave. See, so this is where, and I don't consider that, don't think for one moment I didn't have a moment of butterflies.
Yeah.
I'm a regular person too. But I knew if I didn't stand up then, my children and my grandchildren one day might say to me, Dad, why didn't you stand up? Why didn't you do the right thing in the moment?
Okay, you said if we don't stand up and to this unconstitutional mandate or whatever, we don't even have one in Texas anymore.
No, it doesn't.
But
so
see,
everybody's been brainwashed now.
Right. So if we don't stand up and stop wearing masks, then they're going to say in 6 months it'll be, well, you have to have to come in here. And if we don't stand up, then it's going to be, if you don't have this passport, you won't be able to come in here, you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere. Our rights are being so encroached upon, it trampled, just destroyed in front of our very lives, right. That if we don't, those of us who are willing to have our Rosa Parks moment over and over again and do it consciously, this other thing, again, just like if you do a little research, you realize, well, it's not and it doesn't, if you read what it actually says on the inserts from this experimental injection, that it doesn't keep you from getting, it doesn't keep you from spreading. So I don't know what they're injecting us with. I've read what's in this very questionable and experimental, never been tested on humans before. Right. And for them to say that you would have to have it, the whole thing is insane. And when you talk about it, people look at you like you're insane, but you're the one thinking. They risked their lives, literally. Their lives, and see, this is what is great and what I like to recite from the Declaration of Independence. And I would have loved to have been there when King George read this. When it made it across the ocean. When it made it across the ocean by a boat, right? It says, in support of this declaration, with a firm reliance upon the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. They put it all on the line. This was not a game. This was not like, well, I just won't wear my mask today. I just won't, if they want me to have a vaccine passport. But next month, they're going to have a variant. Month after that, every quarter, they're going to have a new variant. They're already starting that nonsense. People, please wake up. Have a great awakening or have a rude awakening. You're going to have a rude awakening. You're going to wake up one morning and they'll be in your living room injecting you with the next variant.
that doesn't immunize you. We want to know what the ingredients are. When people buy foods that are conscious about their health, they read the ingredients on the label. Why? Because we want to know what's being put in me. Ask your doctor if you're going to decide to go get that at all. Ask the doctor for an ingredient list. Ask them this question: could it create an adverse reaction? Ask them if there's any fetal tissue in it. Ask them if there's any formaldehyde, thimerosal, polysorbate 80, aluminum in it. And if they're being honest with you, they're going to have to tell you. And if they say, well, I can't tell you, say, well, I can't take it. It's as simple as that.
It is absolutely 100% against our natural rights, our God-given rights, to have anyone require you to put anything in your body. We have medical rights.
We have God-given medical rights.
And all the other true that we've had in immunizations throughout our history have always been voluntary. No one's ever required you to take anything.
Always. So there is a nefariousness with this. Folks, we need to look at the banking establishment who makes our money. We need to look at the companies that own the media outlets. There's only a handful of companies that you can count on one hand, basically, that owns news networks, radio stations, newspapers, magazines, and they control thousands of outlets of information. And you have to wake up. We got to have a great awakening, or we're going to have a rude awakening. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it over. They recite their narrative over and over. We got to recite our narrative over and over. What's my narrative? I have God-given unalienable rights, secured by the Constitution. You can't make me do anything I don't want to do. And God help you if you think differently, because I'm not going away.
Yay, I'm so glad you're not going away, because I'm right here with you. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, we're in this together.
We are.
And this is what you're doing is so powerful, Betsy, because you're cataloging this for decades to come. This is not going to go away, because once you upload this, it will be here.
Except for on YouTube, where it won't.
Yeah, but it'll be somewhere. It'll be somewhere. It'll be stored. It'll be somewhere.
Yeah, if people can't see the censorship, that's another weird one too.
See, it only takes one Jesus. It only takes one Rosa Parks. It only takes one Martin Luther King. People are always saying, what can I do? Well, what you can do is you can learn to get some citizen resources. I've even put together some citizen resources, and Betsy, maybe you'll be able to put this with this podcast.
I will. I will put that in the show notes. I'll put every bit of it in there. So
yeah, Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association that you can join and support. And hydroxychloroquine was working in every case, but it doesn't make big money for Big Pharma, who is also controlled by the bankers, who's also part of media. Look at the commercials every night on big media. Drug commercials, insurance commercials, car commercials. It's all the big. When's the last time a mom and pop store had a big commercial on a big network? They can't afford that. So who controls all that? They're all in collusion together. Talk about collusion. There's collusion.
You know, we have this group in Austin called the Know Your Rights Study Group, and we get together and talk about what are our rights and how, and because we have to know them and we have to stand up for them. No one else is going to. Wherever you're hearing this, if you are somewhere else, obviously probably other than here, create these things. You can do it. You get it out there, start talking to the people who will listen, who care, and create a group where you can get together and talk about what are your rights and how can we ensure that we're maintaining our rights in our local areas.
That is beautiful. And see, this is the kind of action that is needed, where communities get together, and it starts with a few friends, and then it grows and grows, and you have featured speakers. But this is what happened with the original colonist. I'm not going to be locked down. I'm going to be liberated. And if the government doesn't get on board, we're here to teach them a lesson.
Will you recite the beginning of the Declaration of Independence for us, Rock? Because that's how much you love it.
Okay.
This is by memory, y'all.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for a people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate but equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitles them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, and that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organize its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind is more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably this same object, events as they design to render them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. And yes, in support of this declaration, for now, for the past, for the present, and for all eternity, we mutually pledge to each other our lives and our fortunes and our sacred honor. We are depending upon divine providence. We don't depend on the government to tell us what to do. I'm here to do what God sent me here to do. We are here to live our mission, to fulfill God's promise in each of us are on purpose. We're not an accident. I'm not a creation of some government. I wasn't made in a government factory somewhere, but they are trying to turn us into automatons where we're just listening to them and doing what they want us to do. No, starting right now, go to your homes, go to your businesses and say, we the people have shown back up. The Great Awakening is now. These narratives are important because they're going to run with whatever we give them. If we give them something that they can hook onto and say, okay, they're believing now that we're a democracy. And even good people in government say it. They say, oh, we're a democracy. No, we're a representative republic. If you don't know what that is, go back to college. Oh, you're a lawyer? Go back to school. And we need to call them out on this stuff.
Yeah, there's the wonderful group in Australia right now that's standing up for their rights. They're standing on the street corners with these beautiful signs that say you can say no to vaccines. But the name of their group is called Restoring Our Democracy.
It's unfortunate.
They're kind of missing that. Yeah, it's like democracy is
mob rule.
Two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting. I saw a pie chart and it said 20%, about 20% of the population voted Democrat and about 20% votes Republican. About 60% of people are voting for no government at all.
Well, that would be a good bill to have, wouldn't it?